Talk about business organizations a little bit today. Business organizations really come in two broad forms. The first are limited liability organizations, and the other are unlimited liability organizations. What do I mean by that? Well, unlimited liability basically means that claims of creditors can reach not just the business assets themselves, but also your personal assets. Limited liability companies provide a fire shield or a protection against your limited asset or your personal assets and attach only against the business assets. So what are examples of those two forms of organizations? Well, unlimited companies are usually either sole proprietorships where you only have one person, or partnerships where there is more than one person in the ownership of the business. Limited liability companies fall into two broad ranges. The first are corporations, and the second are limited liability companies. There are some others, such as cooperatives or limited partnerships, but that's really beyond the scope of what we're going to talk about today. So I want to talk primarily about limited liability companies themselves, corporations or LLCs, limited liability companies, because those are usually of the most interest to people. And first, let's talk about the differences. Corporations have been around a long, long time, been with us since about the 1700s in merry old England. And they're a very formal type of organization. By that I mean they have certain formalities that each one of them has and that you must adhere to. They're formed by filing articles of incorporation. They have stockholders who buy stock in order to fund the operations of the company and to capitalize its existence. They are controlled by a board of directors that's elected by the stockholders, usually at an annual meeting. And they are run on their day-to-day operations by officers, presidents, secretaries, that sort of thing, who are elected by the board of directors. They're required to have at least one meeting a year of the stockholders and one meeting a year of the board of directors, and minutes have to be taken of that. And each of them also has to adopt bylaws, which are basically the organizational document that controls how the company is going to be run. Limited liability companies are the other most popular organization that we deal with, and those are fairly new in existence. They were first created in Oregon in 1993 by the legislature. They're very flexible, which is one of the advantages of them. They can exist of one person, a one-member LLC that is run just like a sole proprietorship, but it has limited liability. It has a liability shield protecting that business owner, and or multiple members that are most often run as partnerships, although they can be organized and run as if they were corporations. They're created by filing articles of organization that are somewhat similar to articles of incorporation for corporations. And rather than bylaws, they'll have an operating agreement most often, especially if they're being run as a partnership. The operating agreement is really the governing document of the company, and oftentimes looks a lot like a partnership agreement would look. Rather than stockholders, it has members. And rather than officers and directors, it will have managers. There's no legal requirement for meetings in an LLC unless the operating agreement requires that a meeting be held. And so they can be organized in a very flexible manner. The most important thing, though, both about corporations as well as LLCs, is that in order to ensure that you gain and retain the protection that you're looking for from liability claims against your personal assets as opposed to just the business assets, it's very important that you dot all the I's and cross all the T's. By that I mean that you really need to pay attention to holding yourself out as either a corporation or an LLC, whatever the business organization is. It is not you, you are merely a representative of that organization. So make sure that your letterhead, your correspondence, and those sort of things are signed by you in a representative capacity. If you're the president or the manager or whatever your role is with that particular company. Be sure that your business cards and other advertising hold yourself out as an LLC or as a corporation, and make sure that the public knows that they're not dealing with you individually, but they're dealing with your company. If you do those kinds of things, you will certainly go a long way toward providing yourself the protection you seek. For more in-depth discussions of these issues, please don't hesitate to give me a call. We'd look forward to talking with you further.